All right, guys, you're tuned in to the Talk and Shed podcast. It's been a little bit since we've recorded one, but if this is your first time, we certainly welcome you here. We've got Adam and Cody here in the studio today. Mm-hmm. Cody, what's up?
Oh, not much. Just a nice August day, a little warm.
August, huh?
August.
Wow.
October.
Okay.
October, yeah.
Today
October day.
is October 4th. Yes.
October.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So, it is a beautiful October day, and there's some guys starting to cut beans. Things are starting to roll. We'll get into that here in a little bit. But
speaking of cutting beans, your dad's running the combine cutting beans right now.
I know, it's kind of
Isn't
scary.
That crazy?
Yes, and for those of you listening, you might think, well, what's so crazy about that? Well, not much, but usually Grandpa's running that combine. I mean, you will not get him out of that seat. Mm-hmm. But I think Dad may have pulled a fast one on him today. Dad, yesterday afternoon, all he wanted to do was get this Salford tool hooked to the semi, because Grandpa's also our delivery driver. A lot of you guys know that. Mm-hmm. And Dad had Grandpa going on a mission today to deliver this Salford. It had to be done. Well, I think that was his way to get Grandpa out of the combine. And so now Dad gets to run the combine all day. I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
So,
well, and usually if Grandpa ain't in it, Ryan's in it. And Ryan had some type of a meeting or something.
No, he's running wagons.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's in the Deutz running wagons, and
Gotcha.
Dad's running the combine. So.
Yeah. That's Ryan's got the 7250 hooked up to grain wagons and running.
Heck yeah. Running TTV up and down the road.
Yeah.
Dumping beans. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's an interesting deal there. So yeah, they're cutting beans, and I don't know how they're doing. I haven't really heard, but Dad's in the combine. So
your dad acted like they were anywhere from 60 to 70, somewhere in there. So.
Yep. And then hopefully he still has got some combine left in him here in November when we do my double crops.
And your sunflowers.
Right. So we'll see about that. That'll be an interesting deal.
Yep.
But a lot going on in the equipment world, a lot of the same and some different stuff too. The last podcast we had recorded was with Josh Wells, the Deutz territory manager. Was that before we went out to Farm Progress?
No, that would have been after.
Okay. Yeah, it was right after Farm Progress, yeah.
Yeah, he was here that week after.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Farm Progress was a heck of a time.
It was.
That's a beautiful show to go to.
Mm-hmm. We went out there for the day, and we had a good time, for sure. So.
Yeah, you can see so much equipment, and, it's nice and wide open. Now, if you're hungry, you're going to wait in line for a long time for food. I can tell you that. Mm-hmm. So we got
either that or they'll run out of it.
Yeah. I ran into one vendor that ran out, but
on the first day.
Yeah. So other than that, a lot of stuff going on. I think in the last podcast that we did, Cody, you had talked about how you finally sold that first Deutz tractor.
Yep.
Any updates on that here?
Yeah. So now we're up to 3.
Nice.
Yeah, so we've basically been, I would quote unquote put us as far as a dealer since I would consider it the middle of July.
Yeah.
Sorry, my dates are pretty.
We're aware.
I'm confused, evidently.
We're aware.
But, so in like the last 2.5 months, we've sold 3 of the Deutz tractors.
Awesome.
So
what was the last one?
The last one I sold, it was a Power Shift 6155. So that's a 6-cylinder Deutz, 155 horse, just a simple power shift, kind of like what you would see in like a 7730 or a 7130, in that 70 range, as far as being compared to like a Deere on that side of things.
Yep.
That's a pretty slick tractor, and the guy is very impressed with
What's
it.
he going to do with it?
So that's going to be strictly his baling tractor. So he's got it hooked up to a Vermeer baler with silage knives, and so he's got that hooked up to that, and that's going to be basically strictly his baling tractor.
Sweet.
So
that's a nice upgrade. And so you went out there and did a demo with him. And
yeah, I did the demo here yesterday, and for him it was a considerably big upgrade considering he's upgrading from a 4430 going into this. So it was quite the upgrade. So
good.
But no, I mean, I went there the night before to just kind of give him a test run on everything as far as, this, and this, and he never once called me or anything like that.
And that was a farm science lead.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Correct.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
So yeah, so that was a good lead from there. And
farm show's still alive and kicking.
If that's what you want to call it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so we sold more out of farm science this year than what we have in the last 2 years.
Yeah, and that was going to be a topic of discussion here today was the farm science review, and we did things a little differently this year. In the past, we had demoed equipment pretty heavy down there, and we pulled out the demos altogether. It's so much work and time. It takes 2 or 3 guys out of the booth for 3 hours. You may or may not get people out there to the demos, and even if they do like what they see, you're still going to have to demo it on their farm too. Right. I don't think you're gaining a whole lot of ground. I think you have more to lose than anything, and so we just decided just to sit out the demos, and I didn't miss them much.
No,
I enjoyed being in the booth.
I think for us, every one of our customers that is in Ohio usually tries to make it to that show, and there's a lot of those guys even in Ohio that we've never met.
Right.
It's basically all just been over the phone and stuff like that. So, I feel like for us it was more. It's always more of a social gathering for us, definitely. But overall, I think just for us. In general, I think it was just the right move. Yeah. We didn't have a whole lot, it created less trips for Grandpa to make there and back and forth. Yeah. I overheard Kyle and Gary talking. We put over 2,000 miles on the semi. Yeah. For farm science. Yep. Just heading back and forth to London. So, that's not even including trucks that made it down there. Right. So,
I drove back and forth a few days.
Right. And I was, that was just equipment, right? Driving it back and forth. So, that's a lot whenever you sit back and really think about it, and add probably 3 more trips to get some of those tools down there to demo and all that stuff. So
yep, it was great. The weather was awesome, and we do a mailer where we mail out a little postcard, and if you bring the postcard to the booth, you get a free pocket knife. And I'd hate to know how many pocket knives we handed out.
Oh, it was a bunch.
It was several hundreds. Yeah. So that was fun. Had a lot of existing customers come up and turn in their postcard. We'd give them a knife and shoot the breeze about some equipment or whatever in the world's going on. So, yeah, it was a great show. No one was really in the field yet, and had an awesome crowd. Weather was great.
Yeah. So yeah, it was. It really was. And Lee and Dave are there.
Oh yeah, the Salford guys, and then we got to hang out with the Surefire, SurePoint guys. Yeah. Drew.
Yep. Drew and
that was fun.
I'm trying to think of the other one's name. But
Dave's buddy.
Yeah, Dave's buddy. I can't think of his name right now.
And we stayed there at Deer Creek Lodge. That's a nice place. But yeah, had a lot of fun. And then since then, through September into October here, we've been busy. Yeah. Let's talk about some of the projects that we've done here in the last few months or couple months. You've got a 24-row anhydrous bar. 3-point. Yep. 60-foot Magnum.
So we've got a 60-foot Magnum bar, 23-row Magnum bar that's going to be heading out to Iowa here. The bar's built. We just got to get the cooler and the plumbing and all that good jazz on there. But yeah, no, I talked to I've been talking to that guy for probably about 2 months now, and they decided to pull the trigger here about 2 weeks ago, right before Farm Science, I believe, is whenever I sold it. So yeah, we're gonna take 2 coolers and time together, and hopefully it puts out what he needs it to put out. So
I've got a 8-row Ag Guru bar that'll be in here any day. Mm-hmm. That'll be making strips here this fall.
Yep.
Montag cart mounted on it.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be pretty neat.
Tomorrow, you and I are heading to Ottawa to go set up my 8-row Maverick bar that I sold here over the summer. Yep.
So, everything we've been talking about and selling in the last 6 months, it's now all going to be coming to fruition and hitting the field here this fall. Fertilizer spreaders and
I said that I felt like that we sold more stuff out of Farm Science this year. Well, that 8-row Maverick bar actually came from Farm Science from last year.
Okay.
That's where I first originally talked to the guy.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, it's amazing how that stuff comes full circle.
Mm-hmm.
And,
For sure.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of those different projects, and right now we're heavy into fertilizer spreader season because a lot of beans are just starting to come off. Not too many guys have dove into corn yet around here.
Cover crops have been pretty huge. Recently. It's just kind of one of those things where it's just like it's all taken off. And one thing that we didn't hit on over Farm Progress, Salford released a new cover crop seeder for the halos.
Yes.
So we've kind of got our first eyes on those, and they're a little different.
Yes.
We're trying to actually get one on a 20-footer right now, so that's a project that we're working on. So Devin's working on getting the skeleton put together. So. Yeah,
there's a lot that goes into that. Mm-hmm. We've had a big run of Salfords, and I think guys are really starting to catch on and learn the Salford difference. It's a big deal, and it's not something that you can just walk up and just tell someone. You've got to see it. You've got to show them. Their neighbors got to run it. Once they experience that, man, they'll never own a different tool again. I just talked to Seth today. He asked me if we had any 2200 20-footers laying around. He's got a guy who used to own a 570 HD, went to some sort of deer tool, and wants to get back to a Salford. Yeah. He wants a 2200 bad. So I've done some demos. Well, we've both done a lot of demos here. As soon as we were done with Farm Science, I started placing my first demos so that as soon as those guys were ready to roll, boom, they could run. They weren't waiting on me, because who knows when it's going to turn off wet. Yeah. And all of a sudden we can't demo this fall. Last year, heck, we demoed in December.
Yeah, we were pretty fortunate last year.
Yeah, and who knows if that's going to happen again.
Right.
So we got to get these demos in. We got to get them done. All this stuff we've been talking about. And so we've been doing a good job of turning and burning on some demos.
Yeah, I mean, your dad was talking about doing another fall demo here this year, or like
field day
here this year, and I'm like, man, I think we got awfully lucky last year. I don't know if
we'll see
if we'll be able to again, but hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we're able to get another one in for sure. But quite a few 5200s, some halos, some
the VRTs have been big.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
G's and Pete's. I've got a VRT or a 20-footer over in Indiana. Just sold one last week. Up in Grover Hill, Ohio.
Yep.
If you watch our YouTube videos at all, you need to check out that video. They traded in a tool that was doing a lot of ridging, just wasn't getting a good finish that they wanted, and they tried out that VRT and could not be happier with what that tool's doing.
They texted you today on it.
Yeah, they told me how well that thing's working for them. Just creating a nice, smooth, flat bottom with no ridges, and there's so much versatility built into that tool. Nothing you can't do.
What did you have that tool set at?
Where?
Like degrees wise?
When I first ran up there?
Whenever you were running it.
Well, when we first ran up there, it was probably the hardest field I've ever demoed in.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it was from wheat.
Oh.
Okay, so they harvested the wheat.
Yeah.
They burnt off the weeds, and that was it. Well, they spread chicken litter on it.
Yep.
Well, what was happening, or what made it so hard, is that all summer there was nothing covering that bare ground.
Just sat there and baked.
It just sat there and baked. You know, you think about wheat fields or corn fields or bean fields, they can get hard in the fall, but they're all still blocking the sun from hitting the bare ground for the most part.
Right.
You look at an open wheat field that's been cut, you know, an inch off the ground, and it was crazy. I could not believe it. And so I was a little nervous how it was going to go. It took a couple passes, and we ended up landing on actually max blade angle.
Really?
15 degrees.
Okay.
Yep, it shocked me. But I think that stuff was so dry that it just blew apart.
You just needed to throw it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just weren't getting enough action at any less of a degree. And we actually had to take some weight off the baskets to then transfer that to the blades.
Yeah.
Because it was so hard.
Right.
But man,
Just to try to get that thing to penetrate the correct way.
Once we got that thing dialed in, though, it took me probably 10, 15 minutes to really get it set the way I liked it. It was good.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. We would dig, and it was a smooth, flat bottom. There was not much to complain about on that deal.
Good.
So
Good.
So yeah.
And the awesome thing is that you were able to run it in the hardest field possible.
Oh man.
You know?
Yeah, the next day I went down to a guy who purchased a 25-footer, and he says, if it works in this field, it'll work anywhere. And I wanted to say, well, you should have seen what I was running in yesterday. But yeah, we took his bean ground that he was spreading chicken litter on, and we turned it into dust. I mean, just broke up all that residue, leveled it out, made it pretty. I mean, that's going to be a nice seed bed for him this spring planting corn.
Well, I remember last year we ran that thing in some bean stubble, and
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Silly. It's silly in bean stubble.
Yeah. I mean, it does good in corn, but I love it when a guy tells me he wants to go try it in beans. I just grin.
Yeah.
Under my breath, because I just know it's going to blow anything away. So
it's just going to perform the right way.
Yeah.
And not only that, we've been doing some 5200 demos as well.
5200 is a big deal. I mean, you know, I don't know that there's record yields floating out there on corn, but there is a pile of residue, and we got to manage that stuff. and that is the 5200 lift, flip, bury, and level.
Yep.
That tool is the ultimate. You know, it doesn't have the chisel points, which is a good thing. You know, those chisel points they can dig deep and break up some compaction, but they're going to bring up dirt that doesn't belong on top.
Right.
That dirt that belongs 18 inches below the ground, dirt that you don't want around your seed.
Right.
And not only that, but it's going to create channels in which that heavy equipment's going to sink down in the spring.
Yep.
And you're going to drive across there, and you're going to create ruts, and you'll say, well, shoot, I'm going to have to chisel that rut out of there, and you'll chisel the rut out, and then the next spring you'll run it over,
it's just going to be repetitive.
Your planter will sink down in that rut, and you'll say, well, shoot, I'm going to have to chisel that rut out again. And you just get into this cycle. The 5200 does that mixing, does that turning, the cutting, the leveling, without having to do that. You're still going to have that hard bottom 6 inches deep.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the 5200. And that's what a lot of guys don't realize with that tool. They feel like they have to have that deep chisel.
Yeah.
And, you know, Mother Nature's pretty dang good at breaking out compaction.
Yeah.
Even in mild winters, you know, you're going to get that stuff broken up.
Right.
So, yeah, 5200's where it's at.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're going to move some of those tools this fall.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident on that too.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I ran the 16-footer in 275 bushel corn residue. What was that, last Friday?
Yeah.
Last Friday I ran that, and granted I plugged it up a couple of times, but once I got it set and got it figured out, I didn't plug once after that.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
There's some playing around with that tool that you got to do to get that done.
For sure. And once you get it figured out, I mean, you know, there's a reason why Larson's talk the way that they talk about it. You know,
yeah.
It's definitely a game changer. Once you get that thing to bury the residue the way that you're wanting to bury the residue. I mean, I'd put it up against some of these guys that irrigate some of this corn and,
Right.
Doing some seed, some seed corn and burying some seed corn where there's a lot of residue left.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've got a 25-footer out that we built there a couple months ago. You've got a 25-footer sold that'll be here. And then there's another 25-footer coming here for fall. So that's by far the most footage of 5200s we've ever had in a long time, and we've got a good candidate on this 16-footer too that we've got here in stock. So
yeah,
it'll be good. We've had a great start to the fall so far, moving some tractors, moving some cover crop seeders, moving a bunch of tillage, and so yeah, it's been great. We could use a shot of rain, but if it wants to be a dry fall, I'm fine with that too. Because then we need to get this crop out of the field. We need to get groundwork done, and it just seems when that happens, that whole winter is just great. Cause,
for sure.
Because guys can go to bed knowing that they've got that done, and you wake up and it's going to be a perfect spring because you had all fall to get all that stuff done.
Yeah.
So
for sure,
it's a great deal. We're getting a lot closer here to moving into the shop at Wabash. They're doing a lot of construction.
Yep.
And so our warehouse facility is almost complete here.
Yep.
So I say almost. I mean, you're probably a couple months out yet, but in the construction world, that's close.
Yeah.
When it takes a year and a half. But so that'll be exciting to get our parts moved down here. It's going to be heated. Hopefully we can get that done before it gets too cold. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
I'd like to think so. I mean, this weekend it's supposed to be a low of like low 40s.
Yeah.
So it's not quite freezing yet, but it's still going to be a little chilly. I'd like to think here maybe by the end of October we might be able to get into that, or at least start shoving some parts in there. That'd be okay.
Right.
So
yeah. What do you think you're seeing out of guys here? Prices have fallen a little bit. Back in July wheat harvest it was $7. We're down considerably. Corn's down, but I've been talking to some guys that have dipped into their crops, and they seem awfully optimistic.
I mean, I think a lot of these guys had a lot of their stuff contracted from last year. So as far as what they're diving into from last year, or what they're diving into this year, they've got a lot of it contracted. So,
well, I think not only that, I think it's the bushels.
Yeah, that too. I mean,
you're talking 200 plus corn and 70 bushel beans.
Right.
Bean price is still pretty strong.
Right. Yeah.
So everyone I've talked to that's either chopped silage or started cutting beans, they're like, so how quick can you get me that Salford tool?
Right. Yep.
And we've talked to so many people, and that's kind of the summer drag. Is you talk to those guys who are like, well, we'll see what the harvest brings. We'll see what kind of corn we have out there, and then they dip into it and see 220, 240, 210, and they're like, okay, we probably better get that thing in here. And so that's what I've been seeing.
I've been seeing a lot of the same. I mean, it's
pretty optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely tell whenever guys started getting into the fields just based off of traffic of phone calls.
Yeah.
And that's the same in the springtime. You definitely, when guys are getting into the field. I mean, here soon, it's going to be applicator and planting season.
Right.
And we're not even through harvest yet, but it's still going to be there whenever we get there.
Yep.
It's just a matter of getting there. And, that's like, I sold an applicator this week. Well, that's the next piece on his farm. And
he's good with the combine. He's good with his grain cart, and his planter's probably taken care of. And he's like, well, shoot, I need to get that applicator. Need to get a better one of them.
He's basically making what we're seeing a lot of, is making that switch from anhydrous to liquid.
Everyone's doing that. Everyone.
Yep.
Everyone. Whoever needs some good anhydrous equipment, we've got it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we've got some really nice used bars out here that are.
Oh yeah, it seems like, I know anhydrous is still used in the southern half of Ohio and Indiana, and then of course you get into Illinois and Iowa region and several other places. But man, here locally, or even the northern half of Ohio and in Michigan and Indiana,
it's a lot of liquid.
It's went, it's gone. But there's no doubt that the corn loves the anhydrous. But
oh yeah, for sure.
It's kind of, that ship has sailed, it seems. But so, why do you think guys are really transitioning over to the spreaders? We've had a lot of chatter about VBI spreaders. I sold one today. Why is that? I've got a lot of guys who just, I don't know if they want to either, obviously they want to do a better job, or if they just want to be able to have more options when they're purchasing fertilizer.
I think it's a big combination of both, to be honest with you. I mean, having the ability to spread your own lime and your own dry fertilizer is pretty, it makes you pretty versatile as far as what you can do in your operation. And, you know that you're going to be able to do it, one, in a timely fashion to whenever you want to do it. And two, you're going to hopefully be able to do it more accurately than what the co-op does. So, I think a lot of these guys are just trying to get away from their local co-ops and hiring it out and doing it that way. I mean, we can run numbers on, on 1,000-acre field and run a Liberty across it, and shoot, you'll have that thing paid off in
not much
no time. I mean, no time.
Especially you start talking 120-foot spreads.
Right, exactly. I mean, you can cover a lot of acres in a very short amount of time and get it done in a timely fashion when you want it to be applied, not waiting on him to get it done for you.
Yep.
And I would say, yeah, definitely it's going to make you give you a better option as far as buying options, for sure. You're going to be able to go and shop. You're not going to be tied to that local co-op that he already knows that you're going to rent his spreader or have them apply it.
Yeah, and they're usually a little shorter staffed and maybe drug out a little longer too.
Yeah, for sure.
If there's maybe a smaller to mid-sized farmer who's just like, you know what, I want to spread that fertilizer whenever I want to.
Yeah.
That's a great advantage for him, just to keep that in house and not have to worry about anything.
Right. And I hinted on being accurate. You can about point out every field that the co-op went through in the spring whenever winter wheat comes up, because you'll see the streaks. You'll see green streaks out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're too convinced or not too concerned about flat spread patterns.
No,
Gunkelman and Lee always say there's a couple rules when you're spreading fertilizer with a co-op, and one of them is leave full and never come back with product
empty
in the tank.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're going to put it on somewhere.
Yeah.
And,
right, exactly. And I think I think guys are figuring out that you can just get more bang for your buck, and especially on a variable rate machine. You're going to paint just like if you were planting.
Right.
So it's going to paint the field just like if you were planting or running the 28 bar or whatever you're running.
Yep.
So what you covered. It's going to shut it off automatically.
Yep.
So I mean, I think for what it's worth and how quickly you can get it paid off, I think a lot of it is just kind of being a no-brainer for guys.
Right. Yeah.
And the high clearance market for us has really taken off as well.
Yeah. I think it'll continue.
Yeah. I mean, guys trying to do different options other than just liquid. And I think, like you said, I think that driver of being able to go out and get a different form of nitrogen is going to be really beneficial to some guys depending on the area that they're in.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. If you had to, we'll do some Fox Pro style questions here from John Collins. If you had to farm 1,000 acres and use one BBI spreader, which one would it be?
1,000 acres.
Yep.
Where am I farming at?
Well, right here in Ohio.
Right here in Ohio. For me, I think it would probably be a Grasshopper HDR.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Really?
It's still going to be a self-contained unit. I can still spread lime with it, and I can go into standing crop if I want to.
Okay.
So I would be able to follow.
So why wouldn't you go with the Magna Spread Plus 12-footer and do 120 feet of fertilizer?
I think if you're a 1,000-acre farmer, I don't know if it's going to be.
Well, Bex is giving this to you. You don't have to pay for it, Cody.
I know. Right. Yeah.
It's in the Bex catalog, and you're just circling one, man.
Right. I mean, the only benefit for me, if I was doing it, I feel like you'd want to be at like that 1,500 to 2,000 acre type guy in order to get you into a 12-foot Magna spread.
I mean,
in my opinion.
you're knocking on the door of 100,000, I think, on that spreader.
Oh yeah, especially if you get both sets of tires for that. So if you go with the Grasshopper HDR, you're talking right around 60 or something along those lines. So, I feel like that's going to be the better bang for your buck and give you all the options, because I almost said Liberty HDR. It was in between those two. I was thinking about it, and I feel like that Grasshopper HDR would be the better one for your dollar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so you're farming this 1,000 acres.
Mm-hmm.
What one piece that's on our lot, not necessarily on our lot, but that we sell, would you buy? You can only farm. You've got the tractor, but something to put a hitch pin in. What's your one thing that you're going to buy to farm with?
Well, I'm going to have a 340 horse.
You already have the tractor.
Yeah, I've got 340 horse. Yeah, it's probably going to be a VRT if I have to have one piece of tillage equipment.
Yeah. Yep.
If it's one piece of tillage equipment, it's going to be the VRT.
Yep. And I was torn between that. Mine would be
if I was able to own two.
You can't.
I'm just saying if I had all the money in the world and I was able to own two, it'd be a 5,200 and a 1,200 or a 2,200.
Oh yeah. So mine would be a 2,200 with hydraulic shanks with a cover crop seed.
Yeah.
And I would seed pretty much everything out. Well, not on 1,000 acres, but on my farm today, I would seed everything that I would ever grow with that tool. So, yeah. Yeah, interesting stuff. There's a lot of versatility built into everything we've talked about.
Yeah. And being able to throw a cover crop seeder on that VRT
that's a game changer.
Right. And that's why I said VRT.
Yeah. If one of them things is hanging around here when I get my double crops off, I'm going to seed my wheat with that.
That would be pretty sweet.
Even though the tractor, we don't have enough horse to do it, we'll just set her, 2-3 degrees and shallow, let her fly.
Either that or maybe we'll use the 250 Deutz.
Yeah, there you go. That'd be all right. Yeah, we'll have to see.
Give us a little more boost.
Yeah, we'll have to see. For some of you guys that have followed along or been to the field day, I've got sunflowers growing in that field where the field day was. We're going to harvest those. So we'll see what that looks like. We've got a 653 corn head or row crop head.
Yeah.
And if that thing doesn't fall apart halfway through the field, I'd be happy.
Well, we were lucky it didn't fall apart on its way here.
Well, yeah, that is true. You hire truckers, you just never know what you're going to get. But anyway, so we're going to harvest the sunflowers. I'm going to put wheat in behind those for sure. I'm going to desiccate those here in the next 10 days. I'm going to spray them to kill them, to get them dried down sooner so I can harvest them sooner and get that wheat in there.
Yep.
Double crop beans, I'm not sure yet. I'm toying around with doing wheat again after those double crops, and I know that's crazy. There's a lot of people shaking their head right now, but I'm going to plant that stuff early to mid-November, and my plan is I'm going to desiccate that wheat in June, and I'm going to spray it once it gets to the certain stage, and I'm going to have my double crops back in there again by June 25th next year.
Yep. And then so in that rotation, you're planning on doing all beans?
on the double crops. No, I'm going to do sunflowers again next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to master that art.
Okay.
Tony Grody's got that stuff down. Like,
Yeah.
He has got sunflowers the size of dinner plates.
Oh, yeah. I was up there.
Mine are like the size of a pop can.
Oh,
And,
they're a little bit bigger than that.
They're a little bigger than that. But I'm going to listen to a lot. I'm going to do more. I'm going to do a better job with sunflowers. I want to grow some good sunflowers.
You know, I think what would help you, there's a Hardy sprayer out there.
I do need a Hardy sprayer.
Yeah,
I know.
There's a Hardy sprayer out there. I used one.
Yep.
That I think you may.
Again, it goes back to applications and being able to spray in a timely fashion.
You know what? I bet that thing's set up to run just right behind your Kubota perfectly.
Yeah, I need to trade that Kubota in on a Deutz.
580.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Or actually,
I need a 140.
Well, that 110 out there, man.
Yeah.
That 110 would be a good one to put behind that. That'd give you all you need.
Yeah, it would. It
You
would.
know?
But so yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna do because we're gonna have a field day again in that same field next year. So sunflowers, they're just really unique. Their short growing season, they handle the double crop arena better than beans. They take hardly any water. Granted, is there a great market for them everywhere? No, but I mean, for the little input costs that you have, and they're excellent for the soil, too.
Well, we dug that trench there. What was that? Probably
A few weeks back.
A few weeks ago, yeah.
3.5, 4 feet down, we were finding roots.
Yeah, I mean, those things are have a great impact on your soil health.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, they bring a lot of nutrients. Nutrients, not dirt, but nutrients that are down there in the ground. They bring those to the top.
Yep.
And it does a lot of recycling. So, yeah, I don't know. Be interesting. I can't wait to desiccate the wheat. I'm excited about that. I want to
That'll
kill
be
it early.
sweet.
We're going to get that stuff off. Brent's going to bale it. He's going to chase the combine with his baler. And we're going to have double crops in the ground before July 1.
That'll be awesome.
It will happen. So I'm going to try and stretch that double crop market.
Yeah.
And still maintain a good wheat yield.
Yeah, I mean, whenever we talk about it all the time, trying to get beans in the ground is so crucial, especially in double crops.
Oh,
And
every day.
If you could gain yourself, we're probably trying to gain ourselves, 15 days?
Yeah, if I got them in the ground, I planted them July 8th this year.
Yeah.
If I can get them in the ground, every bit of before July 1, we would obviously be clear in 8 days.
Yeah.
And that's a lot, especially when they're out of the ground in a day and a half.
Yeah.
That's a lot of difference there.
Yeah,
for
for
sure. You're talking a week longer of flowering, so
Well, right there in July, too. I mean, the days are so long. I mean, you're talking it's daylight from 6:30 to 9 o'clock at night.
Yep.
So, I mean, all the IBUs that you gain just in that week's GDUs in that week's time spread is immenseful in the growth of those things.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what the heck happens, especially with the double crops I've got going this year. I don't know. A few weeks back, I would have told you they could be 40s or better. They're probably 30s.
Yeah,
I would say. We haven't had water. We got a shot of some rain, a chance of rain, I should say, tomorrow, but I don't think it's going to be much.
Yeah.
So, our next farm show is going to be the Fort Wayne Farm Show. They've canceled the one in Indianapolis.
Which is a darn shame.
Super disappointed about that one.
We sold a BBI spreader out of that.
Well,
last year.
It's always terrible weather, and again, it's just more miles, and so we won't be seeing you guys at that show. None of you probably went there anyway. So yeah, it's rolling, and it's kind of on the brink of chaos probably right now because we've got most of our equipment to the field that needs to go, but now it's getting all this stuff rolling. Yeah. I've been getting probably half a dozen phone calls every day on troubleshooting Valmar seeders. We're going to start troubleshooting BBI spreaders. Hey, my spinners won't spin, or my meters won't turn, or the sensor isn't working, and
can't get my chain to turn.
Yep. And so we'll fight through those together and keep you up and running. Don't be afraid to call. So, anything else good? I'm getting ready to sit my butt on a sandy beach here soon. I'm leaving Friday.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of jealous.
Yep.
To be honest with you.
Yep, leaving on a little short trip to Florida quick, and just 3 days.
Yeah.
I'll be gone. Be right back.
Yeah.
And then when we come back, we'll see it's deer season here in Ohio. Mm-hmm. It has been now for over a week.
Yep. I'm planning on going this weekend with how cold it's going to get.
Yep.
So where I'm going to go, I'm not sure yet.
So the deer hunting stories are going to continue.
Mm-hmm.
I've turned it up a notch this year in interestingness. I guess that's not a great word, but I'm going to be shooting a recurve this year for the first time. So
with wooden arrows.
they're not wooden.
Well,
they've got a wood finish on them. They're carbon. But
chisel tip.
yeah, so we'll see how that goes. I'm likely going to miss a heck of a lot more than what I hit them, but we'll see. On the coyote hunting front, things are starting to pick up there. We haven't, still on a dry spell here, probably about 6 month dry spell.
February is when we killed.
Yeah, so
those two.
I went out last weekend. I had one respond. Nothing really happened. Probably went downwind. And
We tried to go out earlier last week too. We
Yeah.
went Wednesday. And
Yeah,
didn't see
as
anything.
as fields are starting to open up, we're going to start sneaking out there more and more. So the deer hunting and the coyote hunting talk, mainly talking about how Cody misses, is going to increase here in the future. So, but that's all I've got, I think.
You don't get the opportunity to shoot at them, so I'm sure you'd miss them.
Well, I can't call them in and shoot them.
You know,
I mean,
you know,
I
what?
guess I
You always complain on missing big deer because you got target panic. Well,
I guess
I miss coyotes because of target panic. All
yeah.
right?
Well,
So,
we'll cross that bridge. But thanks everyone for tuning in, and be listening for the next one. We're going to have probably Dave Gunkelman or Josh Wells or someone like that here in on the next one. Maybe we'll sneak Jeff Worley in here for one. So
we're gonna have to make a trip if we're gonna do that.
yep. So, well, everyone, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yep. Thanks, guys.